If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please remain standing as we remember those who have given their lives for our country, both overseas and here in America.
Especially here, you hate it, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight, especially in the back. We appreciate all you guys coming. Let's start with public comment on agenda items. Department reports. Treasurer. See not in here yet? Okay. Let's go with wastewater.
Wastewater. Average volume treated per month, 646 million gallons, 1,000 gallons a day. 2.1 inches of precipitation. Facility met all New York State DEC speed permit limitations, annual compliance inspection and by DEC environmental engineer, performed by the engineer on August 20th, attended by Chief Operator John Jones. Hellwood Lake and Webb Lane pump stations in Havens Road check regularly and operating properly. 8.85 tons of digested sludge processed through the belt filter press disposal by Spectra Serve Inc. Belt filter press in operation 10 days. Chief Operator John Jones attended the department head meeting on August 20th. 2 men removing pine trees between primary clarifiers and exterior fencing, 3 days. Operator Hurst working with street departments and water departments removing brush at Bog Meadow Reservoir, a day and a half. Operator Hurst working with street department blacktop crew, day. Operator Hurst working with village mechanic balancing and mounting new tires on truck 4, half day. Maintenance and lubrication of pumps, motors, machinery as required. Maintenance of buildings, grounds, time allows 25 days. Man hours lost due to sick, vacation, personal labor, compensatory leave time. 11 days. Gas consumption 71 gallons. That's for last month.
Sweet.
That's it.
Fire?
Fire. Well, I think at the last meeting, I reported briefly that engine 429 is back, and I did come across some paperwork this evening for the estimates of the repair of that engine, and it was speculated that it would take 6 to 10 weeks to repair. Ruscon, who does the work for the fire department, did an extraordinary job and got it back in about 4 weeks' time. But the chief and I also sent letters of thanks to Wurtsboro Fire Department because they did in fact loan us. We had a $1 lease, and I want to go on record, I enclosed a lucky buck to Wurtsboro, so you know, there is a record that we paid for that lease. But that vehicle has been returned safely to them, and also the Tuxedo Fire Department had offered us 2 possible engines for use. Steve Suarez, our chief, has submitted information about the Orange County Volunteer Firemen's Association, the annual convention and parade. The parade is Saturday, September 27th. That's in Cronmer Valley. Later in the agenda, the fire department is requesting to take engine 428 to compete that engine, our rescue vehicle and the chief vehicles to attend the parade. We are not taking 429, it will stay here safe and sound. And on behalf of the fire department and Chief Suarez, I'd like to take a minute to read a letter from the fire department. Highland Falls is a small community that should not come as a surprise to anyone. We are a community where friends help friends, neighbors help neighbors, and in this instance, village departments help village departments. Back in July, engine 429 experienced engine damage that rendered it unusable. Knowing that we would be without the engine for an extended period of time, it also rendered all the equipment that it stores useless as well. Retrieving this equipment was proving to be a daunting task that would have been troublesome without the proper means to transport the amount of equipment and fire hose the engine is generally equipped with. That's when the small community aspect kicked in. Upon hearing the news of 429, Kevin Hurst, an ex-fire chief and life member, immediately offered his assistance along with the DPW and its resources. On their own time, Kevin Hurst, Kevin Barnes, and Earl Cicchetti not only delivered a small roll-off container to Ruscon Truck Repair, they stayed and helped the fire department members unload all of the equipment so it could be brought back to the village and eventually used on our loaner vehicle. Their assistance and willingness to help in any way went above and beyond their offer to supply the roll-off container, and they need to be commended. This was just the latest example of the type of employees we have working for the village of Highland Falls. This past winter was one to remember. The men out plowing all hours of the night always made sure that streets were clear when fire calls came in and kept the ramp clear when the snow was piling up outside of the firehouse. Their willingness to always do what is needed to keep this village safe and running smoothly by working side by side is a testament to the employees you hire and the volunteers in this community. May we all keep up the great work. Sincerely, Steve Suarez. And is Steve here by any chance?
He is here. Come on up,
Thank you,
Steve.
While he's coming up, I just want to show this off. It's the Volunteer Firefighter official publication of the Firemen's Association. And back in the regional section, there is a photograph taken by one Mary Jane Pitt. It's of the wet down in Fort Montgomery, but I think the people holding the hose may be from Highland Falls. So Steve, on your way back, can you give this copy to Mary Jane?
Most definitely.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
Community outreach.
Oh, the Community Outreach Committee?
Yep.
Holy cow. We have a meeting that's coming up this Thursday, but there was a business improvement committee meeting. As some of you may remember, there was a capstone project.
Explain the community outreach first, and
Well-
let's invite people to it.
The capstone project by the West Point cadets recommended the formation of these two committees. One is targeting business improvement, and the other is to provide a venue for West Point leaders and community leaders on our side of the gate to sit down together and to talk about issues of mutual concern and also solutions to some problems that could be beneficial to all interests. One of the most recent developments that came out of the last Business Improvement Committee meeting that will be picked up again this week is the creation of the Art Walk. And I think you've got that also on the agenda. This dovetails nicely with the whole Greenway initiative. Stella Bailey provided me with a lot of files about the Greenway. No one, including the Greenway, has an actual map of our portion of it in the village. So this gives us an opportunity to bring in the historic, which I think is probably the foundation of the original Greenway Trail, and perhaps embellish it with this art walk, which ostensibly I think will be sculptural in context. Let's see. Well, and then we also are looking for a new capstone project for the cadets to do. And one-day projects that I believe his name was Captain Mahundro, was here at the last village board meeting saying this coming spring, he wants to provide us not only with members of the Corps of Cadets to provide labor, but remarkably, they're volunteering to raise funds. So one of the projects that we've been talking about is Paint It Forward, to help businesses along Main Street that just need a fresh coat of paint and some sprucing up, that the cadets may help with that. And I've been talking too long.
Unfortunately, not talking enough, because I have one more for you, but I'm gonna give you a break. The reason being, we've been targeting a lot of needs in the community, and I can't thank the board, every member of the board, for stepping up and picking up different pieces. Charlie Murphy is invaluable to this board. Not only is she taking on projects that no one asked her to, she just goes and picks the Greenway. So, you know what, we need to do the Greenway, boom. I run into her, she got 2 boxes full of stuff, I'm just gonna look through these and see what we can do. Thanks, Charlie. But then she's also phenomenal with the contacts. I was in contact this past week with Senator Gillibrand, Senator Maloney, Senator Larkin, and Senator Skoufis. And as I mentioned, the Senator Larkin, Senator Gillibrand said, you know what, I know this person, I know that person in their office, I know that person, and that's so key for those people that know. It's not just being able to call a senator because you put on a list of about 4,000 people. But when you know somebody in the office, then you get heard. And that is one of the great things that Charlie brings to the table. So I just want to thank you, Charlie, because you've been doing a fantastic job. And as of all the board members, and at this point, I want to move to the senior center, another project that Bob stepped up and took on his own, maybe.
Well, one of the things that, was it Captain who stopped in here, said he can do the painting in the spring? One of the things with the senior center, I called 4 or 5 people looking for painting contractors to come in, none of them got back to me yet. I called the gentleman that I've got the number from, but I spoke to Doris Flint this evening, and she has the hockey team that's looking for a project between games at West Point. She's gonna leave a number at my office tonight, and I'll get back a hold of them. Apparently, all we have to do is feed them, and they'll come in and paint on a Saturday, from what I understand.
It's a beautiful thing.
So I like that one better, that's a good number. That's the last thing on the senior center that we're going to do, we'll just remove the stove, which has failed, and paint, and then we can turn it over. I'm having a lot of difficulty getting people to come in and paint. We were gonna pay them, but I like the idea of somebody coming and volunteering even better, so I'm willing to wait a couple more weeks to get the hockey team in. I don't know how much food they eat, but
They eat a lot. Might cost you more in food.
yeah, that's what I was kinda thinking, but it's, I think that would be the last key here, because the lights are working, the heat's on, the bathrooms are working, the plumbers fixed the floors down and sealed. McCarthy Jack, who replaced a lot of paneling that had holes in it, we had some termite damage, nothing active from the looks of it. I think we're ready to go. One of the bathrooms was made ADA compliant. There is, however, the stove in the kitchen we're gonna remove because it's a big commercial gas grill and it's not functioning properly, and I don't wanna there's no point in having a gas company come down and put a tank on a stove that's defective. So currently they'll have to use a microwave, and we'll remove the gas till we get money to accommodate the needs of the kitchen and the other bathroom. So stay tuned on that, and as soon as the hockey team is done, if they're willing, we'll be ready to go.
Oh, was the roof okay? There was a problem?
Yeah, it was a new shingles. There were new shingles a few years back, John. I
Good.
don't think they-
That's- Before you paint, you want to make sure.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem was with the gutters, and they were taken care of. It
Yeah,
was
the gutters were back.
clogged gutters.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent.
Does that have to be a commercial stove, or you just?
I'm sorry? No, it doesn't have to be, but it just gotta accommodate the needs of
Yeah,
a lot of, you got a lot of burners to accommodate, let's say it's a place of assembly, and you can get 100 people in there, they wanna eat at once.
yeah.
So I'm thinking you need more, something with 4 burners on it. Commercial grills obviously last longer, but the
Yeah.
price of a commercial grill is probably 3 times what a residential
Yeah.
stove would cost.
I'll have to ask around, I know people.
I would love that,
See
that would
what I
be
can
wonderful.
find
That,
out.
that one is shot and cannot be repaired from what the gas company guy explained to us.
Good to go?
I think so.
All right. I also have to thank Mr. Brown, who has been backing me up on a lot of meetings here in the village. It's tough sometimes. We actually have a very flexible board, where it's not a lot of 9 to 5 work going on, but Mr. Brown is constantly making time, particularly in the mornings, to be that second member when we're meeting with, whether it's people investing in the village, people doing work, meeting with department heads, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference not to be there by yourself, and that's what I really feel that we have an excellent working board. And I want to thank you guys for that. We are going to have a regular Chamber of Commerce meeting, a regular Chamber of Commerce report. We are going to have a Main Street Committee report. The Main Street Committee has always been working and doing things on the side. Some people don't even realize the little nuances that they're bringing to it, keeping an eye on things. The key is to continue to back the Main Street Committee, continue to give them what they need to move forward. With that, I'm going to roll right into the mayor's report. Speaking of our elected officials, I do want to thank Assemblyman Skoufis once again. We mentioned the senior center. He has got us that grant that he got a little while back, so he'll be bringing in tables and chairs to start us off with the furniture in the senior center. He also, out of nowhere, showed up to the 9/11 laying of the wreaths early Thursday morning. There were no real invitations, it was just in the paper, it was advertised in the community for those who could make it. And that shows the dedication of the community, and I want to thank him for being there to remember with us when we were laying the wreaths at Memorial Park and at the former Firehouse. Before I move on to 9/11, I also want to thank I'll get back to that. When we get to the 9/11 ceremony, one, we have to thank Doris Lent and Vision for, once again, putting on a phenomenal remembrance ceremony for 9/11. They've done a fantastic job with Patriot Gardens, and it was really good to see Fort Montgomery and Highland Falls Fire already there. That's why we wanted to go to a single ceremony, because a lot of times when we have the double, Highland Falls is here and they're rushing down because they want to be part of both. And I think having one ceremony, one community, it showed at this one that it worked well. And I think they did a really good job. I would like to thank those also that did make it to the two wreath layings. I think it was a special thing. I think it went well. And again, we're taking any recommendations for next year. It's not hardcore that we're going to do this every year. I think it went well, and if there are any other suggestions, please let us know. We have another business coming into Main Street. They're working on one of these storefronts right now. We're talking to two others that are looking at storefronts, so we're excited. We're moving. We just had the one on the corner of Schneider and Main Street, the Country Girl Cafe, which again, I understand the brownies are phenomenal. Make sure you get in there. And so we are moving forward. We've been talking to several other of the store owners. We're very hopeful to turn this around very shortly. Along those lines, with the Chamber of Commerce, Tom Osa is working very hard We won't turn it around if we don't get organized, if we don't come together. And that's going out to the businesses. Whether you work 12 hours every day, or whether you just own the business, you have to be a part of the moving forward process. If Main Street is gonna survive, and not just survive, thrive, then we've all gotta be involved in some way. There's gotta be communication. If you can give time to the chamber, that's great. If you can't, there's gotta be communication, because everyone's gotta be a part of the solution. Another storefront that was opened up just a little while ago is the center. They've been getting a lot of great people coming in, volunteering. They are looking for donations. And people are dropping off great things, but they're looking really cash. They need cash, and they need people that are going to help man the center. Those are the two biggest pieces that they need. Every little bit counts. Do not give them something because it's not cash. But if you have cash, it's the best donation. Speaking of donations, our other board member who has been laid up for some time has already come forward to make a donation to the senior center. He has a large screen TV that we will be bringing down there probably this week. And he's donating that to the senior center, so I want to thank Anthony Farina for making that donation and thinking of the seniors. The Fall Foliage Festival is coming up. If you want to get a table, you need to contact Marty Burns. The signs are out. Make sure you put it on your calendar. This is one of the, besides 4th of July, one of the biggest events here in the village. Put it on your calendar and make a day of it. It's time to come down. It's not just about going down to buy a few things. This is what makes Highland Falls, Highland Falls. Coming down, meeting the neighbors, saying hello, seeing people you haven't seen in a couple weeks, maybe longer. So please come down, look at all the different things that are going on in the Fall Foliage Festival, and enjoy that day. This is homecoming week up at the school. They had a fantastic parade. Thank you to Mary Jane Pitt for organizing that, and organizing a lot more going on up at the school. But phenomenal turnout. That again shows our hometown spirit. For anyone that was around Lot 2 or down Main Street and saw the parade, you saw one of the best parades homecoming has ever had, in my opinion. And one of the best gatherings afterwards they've ever had. It lasted longer, more was done. It was fantastic, and I want to thank Mary Jane and the school for putting on a great homecoming. Homecoming goes throughout the week, and the game is
Friday night at 6:30.
Friday night at 6:30.
Again,
Again, homecoming is not just if you have kids in the school. Technically, it's for alumni, which we have a lot in this community. If you only come to one game, make it the homecoming game. Start making the tradition what it's supposed to be. And then maybe we'll get a spot up on the hill for all the alumni, do a little tailgating. Could be a good thing. But please, consider coming to the game. One game out of the year, this should be the game. Come to the homecoming game, support O'Neill. This is, whether you have kids or not, it's your team. It's your town team. This past weekend, we also welcomed Father Joe, the Sacred Heart. He's been here for several weeks, but the official welcome was Sunday. Another great turnout. Father Joe is, I think he's going to bring a lot to Sacred Heart, a lot to the community. Very community orientated. If there are any needs, any wants, don't hold back. I know he's going to be there for this community, and I'd like to welcome him also officially. Okay, moving down into the mayor's report. We've been having several meetings between the Business Improvement Committee, between Chamber, several other groups. What are we going to do to improve Main Street? What are we going to do to bring back business? What are we going to do to improve the village? Charlie said it, Bob said it, Mr. Brown said it, Anthony said it, everybody said it. Don't want to reinvent the wheel. People in the community said it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have a good base and a good starting point, and it is the report from Vision, the 2003 report from Vision, that we are going to utilize as a base. After looking it over, after reading it, it answers a lot of the questions. This was a professional report that was put together and paid for. So it's not like five guys were sitting around in a room and said, yeah, why don't we do this? No, it was done very well, and the problem is we have a lot of these reports sitting around, but we're not following through with them. So we had another meeting today. Now we're going to follow through. We're going to start picking apart the report, what we can do, and looking for the money. The money is crucial. When this board came on, we asked, if there's anyone out there that can help us with grant writing, that's the bottom line, money. Grant writing, donations, sponsorship money. I'm gonna put together something for the board, and we're gonna consider possibly hiring a part-timer. It's gotta happen. That's the only way that we can get this moving forward. If you're in the community, you wanna volunteer a couple of hours, more, less, you don't have to be a professional grant writer. I will point it out one more time. Bill Stropel, head of the fire department, never took a course to my knowledge. He's brought in over $300,000 over the last 12 years. $300,000 just for the ambulance corps, because that's all he concentrated on. Think of what he did if he did more for the rest of the community. He doesn't have all that time, but he put that time in on his own, so you don't have to know. You don't have to be a professional grant writer to help. You have to want to give time, preferably know how to use a computer. Okay? This is what will get us over the hump. We have a lot of great ideas on paper. We need the money to follow through with them. Just to give you an update, we did meet with O&R last week, because we're talking about Main Street improvement, and in the spirit of open government, I will let you know that the ballpark figure for bringing down the lines from Thayer Gate to Mountain Avenue is $8 million. So, we're gonna get that started. I know Kevin is gonna help us with that. Kevin Coffey said he'll start that fund off, and I appreciate that, Kevin. You're a good man. 8 million. So, unless someone rolls that out, we're definitely not using taxpayer dollars. But unless someone rolls that out easily, I don't feel comfortable spending 8 million just putting the lines down. But seeing some of the renderings with the lines down
Oh, they're gorgeous.
would totally transform the look of Main Street. So it's a decision, it's gonna be a community decision, not just a board decision, but we are going to set up a fund for it. And if it costs too much and we decide not to, the funds will be used in another area of Main Street improvement. Bottom line, it's to put up or shut up time. We've done enough talking, we've been here for a year and a half. It's time to start putting the money involved and getting it to Main Street. And for us, we definitely want it for our visitors. We want to put the money in for those visiting West Point, visiting the town, visiting the village. But I want to be able to know that our residents who are paying the taxes can walk down Main Street and feel serious pride for themselves. And that's the difference. Okay. Wastewater treatment RFQ. Bill, go.
Actually, John is the author, John
Right.
Hudson. And so what we're doing is, John has put together what amounts to a sample RFQ, which
Right.
is request for qualifications. And what we want people to do is basically show their standard of capacity to do such a project. John has identified 4 major organizations, international organizations, in fact, to do this project. The project involves both expansion of our facilities here, but also the purpose for that expansion is to accommodate what amounts to the overflow that seems to be happening at our neighbor in West Point. So we are a solution. We need to get some cooperation from a very big brother, the Department of the Army, and that will, I think in due course, work its way through. A couple of large forces are operating in our favor. It's sort of like the stars are pushing in the right direction in this time, so we have great hopes for that. We'll put together a contract that we will submit to those people who decide to come. John has arranged for them to come and visit the village, to come to see both facilities and the sites, and to also, in their own mind's eyes, figure out how they would approach such a big project as this. Project will be, at a guess, around $50 million. And we're looking for some way for somebody besides not involving the taxpayers to be able to accommodate this need. And as we look a little bit to the east and a little bit to the north, and we see a candidate. So that's basically how we're going to be working on this request for qualification. Following that, the qualifiers will be narrowed down to a couple of the organizations, and of those two, there'll ultimately be a board of people who are very qualified, who will do the selecting, the final selection. And that will include basic plans on how they're going to approach doing this project. And so we'll see how we go in this thing. It's a very brave project. It's daring. It can make a huge difference in this community if we're able to pull this off and be able to host our neighbors on such a necessary utility. So we're very eager to let this thing go.
What do we have to do to get the RFQ?
We have the sample, we're just going through it now. I mean.
What does the board have to do so we can move forward and put the RFQ out?
I think what you want to do is have a resolution. The resolution will say in substance that you're interested in doing this, you're interested, not making any promises to anybody, but interested that the RFQ be sent to the public, that we have identified certain organizations to notify them of this request, and thereafter to basically set up a hosting arrangement. But the resolution would be the endorsement of the board of the concept for getting qualified people here, and then to encourage them to come up with a plan, a scheme of how to accomplish what we're talking about. The end goal is to take over at least the surplus, if not more, of untreatable waste that is generated at West Point.
Okay, so hypothetically, if I want to do this right now, basically the board just needs to vote on an RFQ being put out to find interested parties to get qualified vendors for the wastewater treatment plant project.
Yes.
Okay. By putting this RFQ out, John, what is the board locking themselves into, if anything?
You have to just consider when they come back, and we will support this effort all the way up to the Department of the Army. That's our obligation. They'll make the presentation, and I think this thing will be self-financing because we're asking them for fees
Right.
to do it. So essentially, it's
So at this time, we're not locking any, my question is, what are we locking as far as money and obligation to the village by putting this RFQ forward at this time?
Yeah,
We can always revisit it and upgrade it.
You're not obliging the community to go forward with any particular time for any particular distance through this thing. The provisions in this RFQ, for example, allow the village to drop out. It allows others to do likewise. There's no money that's going to be spent, that we don't make any representation of spending any money of the village's taxpayers, or the board. So,
we're thinking about, we discussed 5,000 is the upper limit of whatever ancillary fees, but I think we're gonna get more than that from the fees that we get. We don't know how they're gonna respond yet, in other words.
This is what I'd like to do for tonight, because we have discussed this, there are basic costs involved, but John has come up with a way to take care of that through all the people bidding on it, putting a fee. This way, again, we're not using taxpayer dollars. So are you okay with us moving forward with the RFQ with that understanding, if we don't get it, come back to us on what costs will be. This way we can at least move forward in the RFQ. With no, at this point, no lockdown on the village, because our goal is gonna be the fees. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't happen, when we come back to the board, it could be the next meeting, because we'll know more, at that point, we'll know. And the fees are gonna work or not, and what the money's gonna be, but this way we'll expend no money, but we will move forward on this project, which, as Bill Florence said, is a brave project. This, we're, in the last year and a half, 2 years, John and several other people in the community, mainly John, have been looking at serious projects to move this village forward. This, you know, for those that don't understand, just to simplify it and make it clear, we don't have to do anything to our wastewater plant. Because of the last couple storms and what we had from FEMA, our wastewater plants are in pretty good shape. But how do we capitalize on that? And we're trying to find more resources, funds, to help our village and lower our taxes. To do that, this was a project that John came up with to solve several different problems. One, the academy, unfortunately, due to the way their wastewater system is dumping into the river on a regular basis when there are heavy rains. Dumping the sewage right into the river untreated. They are upstream from us. So that all flows right down in front of the village and the town. And is hurting the Hudson. Not killing it, but hurting it. We can help solve that problem, and we can help solve it very quickly. And that's one of the differences, as Bill, as far as stars falling in line, there are a lot of different pieces that have now come into play and are working to our favor so that we can move forward on this, but we have to move forward. It's been over a year in play as far as meeting with different companies and forming what the solution can be. Over a year. So it's not like we're thinking about doing this project. People in the know, engineers, financiers, all the people necessary for this project to come together have been working for over a year, formulating what could happen. It is now time to put it out, find the people that can do it. 0 tax dollars spent. We will not spend a dime on doing any modifications to the sewage plant, putting extra pipe in, but not only could this project help the dumping at West Point not happen, it can give us a serious income stream from the customers. What we're looking to do is take the West Point sewage and treat it on a much bigger facility here in the town. We do this, now we get all these customers that are gonna be here forever. They're not going anywhere. It is no risk to the village because a corporation will be formed to finance it and run it so that our taxpayers aren't gonna be responsible. If the plant fails, the village is not responsible. If something happens, the village is not responsible, the corporation is. This corporation will raise the funds, they will make the additions, and we will get immediate benefits day one when the plan is in place. These are projects that have been looked at for the last year, year and a half. A hydro project is being looked at, a solar project is being looked at. These are things that we have been working on just to give you an idea. It's not just day to day what happened on Mearns Avenue today, which is being looked at. But these are some of the bigger projects going on. That's why we're doing it. Does the board have any questions for John or Bill?
I did want to add one thing.
Please.
This was a partnership privatization.
Yes.
One of the things that individual board members have made it clear that a private partner must be willing to utilize our existing staff. So there would not be any job
Maintain the
loss.
job.
Yes.
The other meeting you're doing right now is a special authority that just became available only a year and a half ago, and it really hasn't been used. And it says a host community, which is us, which is right next to a military base, has first chance. If you have a demonstrated ability to provide a service, you can go directly to the Department of the Army and say, hey, we can do this. And if they like what you present to them, and you have, of course, all the details worked out and they find it attractive, they can say yes with no more procurement, no more 2 years of studies. They've decided at West Point to privatize all their utilities, their water, their sewer, their electric. So it's a great opportunity for us as a host community with this new authority to take advantage of it and actually come out ahead, not only to strengthen our bonds with West Point and do something for them for a change, but also actually help support ourselves in doing it and making this community here, which is surrounded by 16,000 acres of green space, into a tighter bond and a more powerful group together, and certainly more attractive to the rest of the world as we build these foundational things. These will be around for 50 years. These are not little things we're talking about doing here.
And all these items, as far as their privatization, this is why it's key that we have people looking and seeing what's going on. They've already privatized the laundry. A company came in, and most of the companies that are privatizing on West Point, unfortunately, are not even American. They've privatized the laundry. The hotel across the street, the old 5-star, is now privatized. They are looking to privatize all their utilities. They'll be furthering the privatization. Okay, depending on how things do, the ski slope, the golf course, if they're losing money, yeah, the housing. The hospital, the housing's already been privatized, Balfour Beatty, a Canadian corporation, billions of dollars. Why are we letting other people come in? They're not coming in because they want to help the military. They're not coming in because they want to help anyone. They're coming in because they want to make money. We're already here. We can service them better, and we can make the money for our community, and that's why we're looking at it. We can help West Point better, and we can make a lot more money for the village, which will help us lower taxes.
Well, to do that, we need world-class partners.
Yes.
Who can do this really first class, and we can go to Washington and show them, look, we've got the same people you would pick, except they're our partners. And we're gonna do you a great job, and we care about it, and you can even be on our board with us so you can keep track of it, rather than just some corporate headquarters somewhere on the other side of the world making the decisions at West Point. Because once that contract is signed with the academy's power to do anything else is gone away. With us, they can always speak, we have communications, we know each other's problems. It creates a much tighter bond and a better relationship.
Bang. Any other questions? Okay. Again, just so we're understanding, this is what we're doing is we're going to move to vote on putting out an RFQ to find interested parties to get qualified vendors for the wastewater treatment project. Okay? Do I have a motion for that?
Mr. Brown, you have a motion? Okay on that motion?
Say what?
Is Mr. Brown okay on that motion?
Do I have a motion? He's asking for someone to actually go ahead and motion.
I'll make the motion. It's
I have a
no
motion.
financial obligation.
Exactly.
That's
That will be part of it in writing. Do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm going to recuse myself just because I wrote the RFQ.
So moved. Thank you. And again, just so we're clear, no financial obligations at this time. We get those back out, and we always move on. We are making bold steps here because this community can do it. That's the other thing we need to know. We're not just workers here.
As long as that's clear.
We have the people that can, in our own community, that can move us forward on these bigger projects to help out this community, and that's what's important to know.
As long as that's clear.
Exactly.
No tax money.
Bang.
Don't cost anything to listen.
Okay, we're moving on to discussion. We want to reopen the public hearing for the wireless communication law. Do I have a motion to reopen the communication?
You do.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Any further comments?
any further comment on the communication that you have in front of you?
I do.
Go.
I don't like 100 feet, number one. On page 13 of 18.
Yes.
And then this language here, I just want to make sure there's no wiggle room in this bill. It says 100 foot from a residence parcel perimeter,
Yes.
measured from the nearest component of the facility.
Yes.
Is this only if there's a residence in place, or is this, could be like if you're in an R2 or R4, it's subdivided and no house on that parcel? Is it undeveloped property too that falls within a residential neighborhood?
There, I think what we would say is to the perimeter.
Okay.
Perimeter of?
Yeah,
Whether there's a structure on it or not, I guess was my concern.
Property zoned for residences, even if it doesn't already exist.
Even if it's currently not developed.
could be zoned for a zoo, and if it's the perimeter, you know, it's like the deer park can't get any closer than a certain designated distance.
Right.
I think what he's saying is this says residence and not just any parcel.
So-
Okay.
Instead of 100 feet from a parcel perimeter.
Plus, well, I guess the talks have been the town garage, and there's a bunch of property that's actually not subdivided back in there, but it has the potential too, and.
Page 13, is it?
Page 13, E,
Okay, thank you.
right next to 100 feet from a, instead of 100 feet from a resident parcel, 100 feet from a parcel perimeter.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I think- Yeah, that's a good catch. I mean, that's interesting. We were trying to protect residential
Right.
uses.
But this way we can protect all if need be.
Yeah,
You know, future uses, I don't think that, I wanna make sure that that property
okay.
still could be developed and still be within maybe the new 500-foot setback, perhaps.
I'm sorry, what was that?
500.
Bill, originally, some of the comments were 1,000, and I know we talked and we thought that would be like looked at as antagonistic. How about 500?
500 feet.
500 feet from a parcel perimeter.
The farther
Right,
the
that's what-
distance, the more frail the enforceability of it is. So if you like 500 feet, I don't have any,
You're saying, but you're saying that the bigger the number, the harder it is to defend.
yes, I am saying that.
You want to just go with 500 and
Yeah,
go for it?
first of all, I think they need us, we don't need them.
Slow down.
That's my concern, that's my feeling.
That's not how we're going to look at this
Right.
as a, when we look at the legislation itself.
Right.
It's not who needs whom. It's, we have a power, we're exercising that power over somebody else, some other area of business. And so the question gets to be, how secure are we going to make the people who live here and the businesses that operate here from the site and the possible effects of the tower? For example, when I say the effects, I don't mean the electromagnetic field. I mean the sound of any motor or any other activity that goes on in the shed that houses the power that would allow this thing to, this tower to actually convey signals. So now, the real issue is, if it were only a tower, that might be one thing that you'd say you could have a really long distance, because the distance it takes, its falling distance, for example, might be more than 100 feet. I don't think so, but there's a hypothetical possibility. If it's on a near too close to another residence, the damage to the residence is it's affecting the value of that residence when there's a shed and there's it's a non-residential use. It's not a house that's worth more money than the one that's next door.
Right.
So that, in that respect, it has an adverse economic impact on whomever is next to or near the tower. So you don't really, people don't want to have the tower necessarily near them. So there's a rational basis for saying it should be a certain distance away. I use residence, it was easier in my mind's eye to reflect on the negative impact on a residence
Right.
more so than it would on a business that might not be as
care.
affected by
Right.
aesthetic looks. So that's the only comments I'd make. I'm gonna write down whatever.
No, I'm just, my thoughts on the 500, what form of government has 1,000? Is it?
The town, I thought, had
We have 1,000.
Yeah, so I don't think.
We have 1,000 too.
Yeah, I know down in Long Island, in certain communities, it's 1,500, 1,000, I don't think that we're,
I'll put down whatever you say.
yeah.
Let's do 5, and even like when you say with the residents, if we actually have to defend it and go to court with it, then we could throw in we're hurting the residents more than just that with the property value. And if we have to back it down, I'd rather start at 5 and say, you know what, I'm okay with 450.
Okay.
But if we start at 1, we're never gonna be able to get back up. That's my only thing. So if we could just do those changes, are you good?
Yeah,
Charlie?
I don't know, I just.
Yeah, there are a couple other things that I think in the transition from the former attorney, they didn't get put into his draft. Before we leave the setbacks, there is a setback for the distances from any school or playground. That also needs to go up to 500 feet. It's currently 350.
Page?
It's, well, in my copy, it's page 13. It's,
About the same one.
it's under location, lot size, setbacks.
Right,
It's-
that's 12.
It's number A.
Right. Right here, it says it's 350.
What page you on?
It's 12, page 12A, under number 1, and it's B, location, lot size, setback, right here. And it says not less than 350 from the nearest property line of school, daycare center, camp. We're gonna change that to 5. We'll keep everything 5, we'll keep it uniform.
Notification and, give me the,
It's page 12, section B,
yeah,
number 1A, and it's the,
I see it.
Okay.
Okay. Where do you want that, Charlie?
from 350 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, taking it from the top, section 1, number B,
1B.
where it says, there, I think this was a change,
Promote the health, safety, and general welfare.
it should
Mhm.
read the adverse visual and other effects.
Standards to reduce the adverse
Visual and other effects.
I don't, to reduce adverse,
It's just two words.
Adverse what?
reflect-
Visual,
Visual,
and other visual, it says,
Yeah.
adverse and other visual.
it should say the adverse visual and other effects.
Okay.
so that's just wording.
Yeah. Now it's my page 6.
Section.
Just give us the,
Okay, it would be,
What's the topic?
compliance with,
Environmental.
restrictions on use.
okay.
Page 5.
Yeah, that's 5, and it's,
And it's
3.
item number I.
That's going to be the next page,
Yeah, that's
It's right
page
before
6.
major wireless
Right,
communication.
all wireless communication.
Facilities shall be constructed and
Um,
maintained in conformance with all building, electrical, fire prevention, and other applicable codes.
Well,
Oh, wait a
number
minute, now, I.
I.
Yeah, number I.
All wireless communication facilities and all property upon which such facilities are proposed regardless of ownership by, and it currently says government entity. I thought we were going to say government entity or taxing district. I think that was a change requested by the planning board.
Okay. Okay.
The next page, where there are blanks for location of,
Approved zoning districts.
You talking about tax map
RA1.
number?
tax map,
It's right after that. It's number 4,
I see.
major wireless facilities.
item number 1.
Right.
The wireless,
Right.
or the tax map for the water tank property, I believe is 101-1.1. I don't have a tax map number for the other one because I wasn't sure exactly where it was.
Right.
So that has to be inserted.
Okay, that's 101 up here,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
-1, point 1.
point 1, yep.
There's something in the middle missing there. Usually it's section, block, and lot number. Section, then block, then lot number.
Well, I pulled out the tax exempt list,
Okay,
which I may have accidentally given to you when I gave you my copy.
That's all good, because we're gonna need the other one anyway. We'll double check those with John Hager tomorrow,
Okay.
okay? What else?
Let's see, the next page, conditions precedent to granting site plan. If you go all the way down to number 5, commitment for future shared use,
It's on page 8,
it's 8 on mine.
right, it's up 8 on ours.
New wireless communication towers shall be designed to accommodate future shared demand for reception and transmitting facilities. The applicant shall submit to the planning board of trustees. I think the of trustees is in there in error.
I agree with you.
Um, Okay, one of the things that the planning board had talked about was the ability not only to hire general
Yeah.
engineers, but
Mhm.
one that could cover radio frequency
You said
engineering.
something about that.
Right.
On page 12, the very bottom where it says the planning board may in proper case waive one or more of the requirements and may require additional reports or evidence that it deems necessary to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Is that enough to justify them hiring a specializing engineer?
We tried to make it as general as possible. The more specific you get, the narrower the authority.
Okay, if you feel confident that they will have the ability to use monies from escrow to hire that type of expert, that's fine. Okay, my page 15. Under security and safety fencing, there was talk, again, I think this came out of the planning board, of adding an item F that would say, facilities and structures shall be monitored from a central monitoring station, 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Where would you want that?
As item number F.
There's only a D on
Page
page
14.
15.
No, it's 13, I think she's on 13, with the landscaping all facilities to provide. Is that where you are, Charlie?
I'm under security and safety.
Security and safety fencing?
Yeah, right before coloring and marking,
Page 14, Bill,
14.
page 14.
Okay,
After
she's
you
right here.
coloring and marking, and they say all transmitters shall be designed in such a manner.
Okay, that's number E, and I think the suggestion was adding an F that would say facilities and structures shall be monitored from a central monitoring station 24/7. I'm getting to the end, Bonnie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think this is my last one, but it was, oh no, it's not, sorry. It's under removal. I felt very strongly that some money needs to be put into escrow at the time of approval that ensures that the village does not get stuck holding the bag to take these suckers down when the technology changes.
Removal, that's on page 16.
Mhm.
Okay, it's 18 in mine.
Where it does say they're responsible for the cost of having an escrow, would obviously
Yeah, but
make
that,
us more happy.
right, that, otherwise, we take it down and
Yep,
it's attached to land that no one is gonna ever pay that tax on. So what I had suggested was under removal item number 1, adding an additional sentence in that says,
Any antenna communication facility,
right,
communication tower, antenna tower, or monopole, including any supporting structure related to appurtenances, property which is not used for 6 months, including non-continuous cumulative period of 6 months, in any 12-month period shall be removed by the operator of said facility, and properly restored to its sole cost, at its sole cost and expense.
what
You want to say which shall be used from an escrow that's,
well, I was going to suggest saying a minimum of 50% of the current cost of removal to be placed in escrow. And then in item 3, in that same section, where it talks about the removal and applying to property taxes, the last line, starting from if not paid.
I saw that becomes a lien.
Well, no, I was going to say if not paid shall be drawn from the amount in escrow with the remainder assessed against the property.
Where's that now?
In handwriting on my copy.
It's 3.
It's 3, yeah.
Okay, now say what you're gonna put in.
Let me show it to you.
Maybe every year they're gonna ask for it.
If not paid shall be
If not paid shall be,
drawn from the amount in escrow.
from the escrow fund.
Yeah. With the remainder assessed. It gives us a little buffer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this, at the solo expense,
Sure, we got that.
operational certification. Planning board.
I think that,
45 days.
it's got money. Come on.
Solar. Instead, take out the word and.
I got it.
It's only gonna be 2,000. You Google it, you get it. Charlie, I like that, rather than get too complicated, is it too much to ask to have the entire thing put in escrow? These guys got money. So, as a safety net for us, is it too much to ask to have the removal put in an escrow account? So that we're not worried about it? We shouldn't be worried about it. They're gonna make their money back right off the bat by renting to all these AT&T and Verizon and everyone else. The money's gonna be instant.
Is that an unusual request, though?
I think it will be unique to us, so I was trying to be.
I've never seen a removal clause, but in my previous experience, we were mostly interested in the MONEY.
I love that.
I think 50% shows we're trying to be reasonable.
Okay.
And along that same line, under review and compliance costs, there are currently 3 items. I would add a 4th, just,
Page 18,
it's the very end, right above several buildings.
section H.
Review and compliance clause?
Yeah, we should add a number 4, that specifies an amount equal to 50% of the estimated cost of tower removal shall be placed in escrow at the time of approval.
You sure?
Positive.
Mr. Brown? You good? Bob, anything else?
No, that's pretty much, I forgot all about the removal aspect of that whole thing. I think that's.
We didn't have to.
And I couldn't even guess what something like that would be.
68.50. Is that with tax? All right, Bill. Can I run through it, or are you good?
I'm almost finished.
Okay. All right. While Bill's making those.
I think we should say as a condition of the approval.
Good. Even better.
In other words, digging.
All right, well, Bill makes the final adjustments, if everybody's feeling good. We have a resolution for adoption of local law number 2 of 2014, wireless communication facilities.
You haven't closed.
Where is it?
You haven't closed.
Oh, we have to close
Close
first,
the
my
hearing.
apologies. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Brown, second?
Second.
Second, Bob, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Before I do that, anyone else want to say anything? No? Great. Closed. And I would like a motion for resolution adoption, wireless communication facilities, whereas an introductory local law entitled Wireless Communication Facilities was introduced before the Board of Trustees of the Village of Highland Falls on July 7, 2014, and upon notice duly published and posted, a hearing was held on August 4th, 2014, and continued on September 15, 2014, before the Board of Trustees, and now, therefore, be it resolved that the adoption of this introductory local law entitled Wireless Communication Facilities is hereby determined to be a Type 2 seeker action. Now, therefore, be it resolved that introductory local law entitled Wireless Communication Facilities of the Village of Highland Falls be and herein is adopted as local law 2-2014 of the Village of Highland Falls
On today.
on September 15th, 2014. Can I get a motion to accept the resolution?
Got it.
Charlie, second.
Second.
Mr. Brown, can I get a roll call?
Roll call, trustee Mallon, trustee Brown,
Aye.
trustee Murphy,
Aye.
Mayor Flynn.
Aye. I'd like to thank, there's a lot of people that had a hand in making this happen, both those in the public and those working for the village. I think it's a very important piece that needed to be in place so that we are protected, as well as just so we understand, it's not about not having towers. It's about putting them in the right place. We need them. We need to improve communication in this town. We need to make sure that we have a little control, and it's not just put wherever, but we still have the offer for Marty's backyard.
Thank you.
All right.
Second
Okay, we have also for discussion, lodgers, roomers, and landlord registration form. Excuse me. This came about, I'm talking to John Hager, with, 7 years ago, it used to be that you could have 5 lodgers in your house. That was the code. So people were renting individual rooms in their house, 5 different people, mainly due to Lady Cliff, with, an overflow from the dorms. The girls would be staying in the local residence, as well as renters from West Point. Several years ago, they changed it to 1 lodger per residence. We're not talking about apartment buildings, we're not talking about anything like that, a house. You're able to have 1 lodger as a renter. We are basically cracking down on our own code. We're not really creating a lot of new code. What we're doing is we're trying to enforce code that's not been enforced. And so while we're looking at it, John's going over the codes and he wants to confirm with the board that this is the code that we want. Do we want to get stricter? Do we want any changes to it? So he can move forward and start actually enforcing the code, which these codes have been in place. That is why this is on discussion today. He wants to reaffirm the desire to have the code restriction laws and rules enforced and authorize the building department to publicize the regulations and forms. What it was also in our discussion, when this was done, because people already had a renter in their house, they had 3 renters in their house, they said, we're not gonna kick people out. We'll give them a year, we'll give them 2 years, codes in place. So it's been in place for several years. It was publicized, all the proper things were done, but we really haven't been going out and enforcing them. So now it's been a couple of years, people know the code's out there, they shouldn't have extra renters, He knows he has already a couple, he's got his eye on, and he needs to go see, because he knows they already have 2 to 3 lodgers when they should have 1. So he wants the board's approval that we're backing this code and to look at it, see if we need anything else. Are there any comments on that?
The Main Street Committee had raised a similar issue at their meeting last week. They wanted to know if the proliferation of satellite dishes on a building could be enough to trigger an actual inspection by the building inspector to ensure that there weren't illegal apartments or excessive use of structures on Main Street.
Right, and as, when we got on board, we actually looked at that. That was one of the first things, when I was a trustee, that we looked at. And it came back from the communications that it's illegal to make people, because we wanted them down. It wasn't even, we weren't looking to look into houses. You have 7 dishes on your 2-family house, because you take 5 of them down. We were told by communications, Federal Communications, FCC, no, you can't. They can have 20 dishes on their house. You can't limit their freedom of information. And that was what came down from DEC. Now, we can check it again, but what they did tell us, in relation to what Charlie's talking about, is the one thing, multiple dwellings, the building department has the authority to go in and investigate and make sure they're up to code. They don't have the authority to go into a residence, a single-family residence, unless there is more than 1 dish on the house, which to the outside community indicates there is more than 1 resident. There are multi-family residents in 1 single-family dwelling, which is happening, and it is happening. Let's open our eyes, people. It's happening in our community. So we will use the fact that there are multi-dishes on top of houses to go into single-family residence. And John is aware of that, and we have talked to him about that. That is also part of this, and that's part of what he wants to, he's been coming to department head meetings on a regular, he's been getting more aggressive, and we want to back him, and we want to say, we want to be even more aggressive. You know, we don't want illegal 2- and 3-family houses. There's no parking, there is no, you know, we want more people in our community, but you need to get, go to a multi-family house, or get a single family, do what you're supposed to do.
I just want to let you know, when I first got dish service up here, I had to have 2 in order to get the service.
You're not helping me, Marty.
I'm
But I
sorry.
appreciate your help.
I'm sorry, but that's.
Just remove the cell from the back.
That's what I was exactly gonna say,
Yeah.
cell phone,
You're
cell
not
towers
taking my
off the
tower
table now,
away.
cell
I'm
towers
sorry.
off the
No,
table.
really, in order to get PBS stations and
Right.
a couple others, they had to do it
From the
too.
same vendor?
Same company, yeah.
Wow.
I called Dish, and
Now,
I was
they're not,
actually,
I don't think they're doing that now, but
Okay.
some people who might still have
Right.
maybe the original setup, that's how it was.
the beauty of it is it doesn't really matter. Authority-wise, we're given the opportunity to investigate, and that's all we're concerned about. And we're not going into it's not a license to throw the law to the wind.
Yeah.
What it is if there's been complaints, technically, he can't even, if there's 10 cars in a house, without an opening, technically, he can't even make too much of a, hey, why do you always have 10 cars parked in front of your house? But this gives us an in to be able to investigate all houses that have multiple dishes. Yes.
There's, the parking is the key to how intensified the use of a particular residence is. And that is by the local municipalities could, if they wish, limit the number, for example, issue permits
Right.
to permanent residents and only have permit parking in an area where you feel the people are overpopulating their residence. And in order to do that, we would sell at a nominal amount, rate, permit for each house on the block, up to 2. If there were more people in a residence, the parking would have to be off the street. And when you talk about off the street, you don't allow people to macadamize their backyard or their front yard. So you run a control system so that, you, by the scheme of the statute is that it discourages the possibility of intensified use. And that's really what you want to do here, that's the affirmative way to, if you want, and that's just another thing that you could have us trying to put together some legislation along those lines. I don't know that you can do it without parking permit. That would really take an awful lot of energy by the building department, where you have to watch to see who comes, stays
Right.
at night. gets
Well, that's what I'm saying,
no one
yeah.
can leave, and that's
Sweet Georgia. All right, are we good with
This,
Mr. Brown?
what about if there was a house, one time, two-family, and now it's turned into a rooming house?
Right.
the
If it was done legally, then they're
not
fine.
legal.
If it's not legal, they're not fine.
I suppose it's not adequate for that.
Then they wouldn't be given the proper permits to do it.
Well, you know, we had some problem with people just coming in, doing what they wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
We have that now,
Oh, yeah.
so,
And that's what John wants to rectify. He wants to go out to these, the problem is with so many people on their own, turning their single families into double families, some triple family, with single rooms, you don't know where to begin. Because we do have a problem in this community.
and we know it's here. We
Yes.
know it's happening.
So, well, all we're trying to do here is give John, back up our building inspector and say, yes, the board is behind you on enforcing the code that's already in place, and, we have your back. That's all he's asking right now. Because he wants to make sure that he's not gonna do something that the board's gonna say, why are you doing that? Which, if it's in the code, we're okay with most things in the code. That's one of the only reasons, and for people going, well, it's in the code, why is he even questioning it? Our code book is antiquated, that's why he's questioning it. Now, this is not, and we could actually get a little more stricter, as Bill pointed out. But there's a large portion of our codes that, and we've talked to the building department about combining them and updating everything, and that's what we have to get to now. There's code that hasn't been touched since the 40s, code that hasn't been touched since prior to that. So that's why he's giving us these memos. He wants to make sure, I wanna get on this, I wanna do it. Does the board still wanna support it? Yes, I do. And that's basically all we need today is affirmation from the board that yes, we support this code and we want him to move forward.
There is a rationale for us to undertake a major code review
Yes.
because, as our planning board pointed out when we talked about the goal of merging planning boards, the more consistent the village code is with the town code, the smoother that transition would be.
We spoke of that today.
Consolidating the books.
I talked to the building department about that. Two ways. One, we can just start taking sections and they can do it. They of course requested, well, there's no way we really can do it unless we hired some more people. So that's, I laughed like that. And then said, no, we're gonna start with you guys taking a piece of it. But that's, if we really want it done in a timely fashion, that's something we may need to consider depending on how much code is there. Because I don't wanna waste time updating it. I wanna combine it and update it.
There's a code publishing company that does all of this kind of stuff, and it would be very helpful.
That'd be great.
Perfect. Cool? Are you good with this, so we can move on?
Now, is this gonna be under the land order, this is amendment?
This is already existing.
Added to the land order registration law, or is this a new?
No, this, all- as I understand, everything is presently.
Right.
It's
This is already in our code. We're not voting on any change.
Right.
He's just asking for us that we
What
support.
happened, it passed about 2 years ago or so, but it hasn't been put into force because there hasn't been much publicity. By virtue of this meeting and what the mayor is saying, we are adding a layer of publicity now and basically suggesting that the building department begin to enforce the existing law that has been there now for 2 years.
Good to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Good to go? Good to go? Okay, we don't need to vote, he just wanted backing, so that's all.
A sense
Fantastic.
of, we call it a sense of the board.
Bang. Okay, before we get to the art walk, let's talk Halloween.
Hi.
Stand right where Mr. Florence is and face the camera.
Oh.
Yeah! I didn't tell you about that for a reason.
Great, you need to tell me I was thinking about TV.
We had talked about this the last two meetings, about trying to coordinate better with the different, this is just the beginning, Halloween will be just the beginning. We want to do a similar thing with the winter holidays, Christmas and whatnot, as well as other things throughout the year. People are on top of each other with different activities, so we're not telling you how to do it, and we're not telling you what you can and can't do. But what we are looking to do is coordinate so that all the children, all the families, all the people can go to all the events rather than have to choose between one or two. And that's why we're here today.
Last year, I started the trunk or treat. It was, if all of you know about it, it was in town. Basically, businesses and families came out and they opened up their trunks, put candy in it, they decorated the cars, and it allowed a lot of the little kids to trick or treat before it was dark, and people who have like, young children that don't wanna go door to door and they get tired. Instead, it was located in the municipal lot, and they went from trunk to trunk. It was the first year, it was very successful. We ended up with 175 children coming. We did have, we did eventually run out of candy, because we didn't expect that many, we'd never done it before. But we do anticipate probably an attendance of over 200 this year, because the word of mouth has gotten out, and a lot of people said they really enjoyed it. We're hoping that we can get more cars from families, because it didn't get out fast enough. So, and we had some problems, trying to get, we have to put the letter in to the schools and they have to approve it. So it went back and forth there, just changing words and stuff like that for legalities and purposes and everything. So we got it approved, but it went in a little late. And so I think this year we're gonna be putting it in. I already have spoken to, the Fort Montgomery Fire Department has spoken to me already. We're doing a dual flyer, which will be sent out. It basically says the Highland Falls Community Halloween Parade and Trunk or Treat. And on the bottom it says Fort Montgomery Fire Department Halloween Parade and Party. So basically that we know that, they're both happening. The community knows there's two of them. This one's happening on the 2nd.
November
Sunday,
2nd.
November 2nd. And the trunk or treat happens on Halloween, so it will be Friday, the 31st. I have put together a letter already, which we just need to make copies of, for all the community businesses and everything, so that they can join us in, if they want to either bring out our own car, or they can decide to sponsor a car, and we'll have a car there, so that we'll decorate for them, and then they'll just supply the candy, and they can participate that way, and we put their sponsorship sign up for them. We did have the Hudson, what is it, the Family Center, who,
Yes.
they didn't, we weren't aware that we were doing it, they did something different, but they did come by and they did sponsor a table on a car last year, so I had 2 cars. Then we also are sending it out to, one through the schools, for the families, and we're asking them to either, if they can, bring their own car or share a car with their families, because, 200, to cover 200 kids is a lot. So if they wanted just, a bunch of families get together and throw candy in a trunk and share it, that, that would be wonderful. It doesn't even have to be candy. I wrote candy, stickers, glow stick, tattoos, bookmarks, whatever you want to, hand out. The kids love whatever they get. I mean, last year I gave glow sticks. Then we also, or if you cannot provide a car or anything, we're gonna talk to the schools to see if we can book boxes there, and see possibly my time market, if we can put a box there also. to see if we can get bags of candy donated, and we'll have just a community card, in which people, the community itself just donates bags, and we'll have just a strictly community card. That way, they can just donate a bag and not feel terrible or anything. So basically, it will be, we ran into some problems last year in which we ran out of candy, but we were supposed to start at 4:30, but people started showing up earlier. So this year, we're not opening it until 4:30, but we're gonna have the parade at 4:15. They're gonna walk down Main Street, and they're gonna walk right into the trunk or treat. So we'll start at the gazebo, the first gazebo in town. So they'll walk down. We're gonna try to find someone dressed in a costume to dance around and lead the parade and be our jester. So if anyone wants to volunteer, I see you volunteering over there. Didn't your hand go up? So we're looking for someone to do that, and then just walk everyone down. That way, everybody can get a chance to go in, because a lot of the candy, the parade came in a little late, and a lot of the candy went quickly because no one knew how many people were going to be there. So we have already, in the letter, it will tell them like an estimate of people. That's pretty much, what we're doing. We're gonna send out these, mark the date for it ahead of time, and then we'll send out the letters, because we don't wanna send them too soon, because the parents and everybody, businesses will do sooner, but the families, we'll probably do it at the beginning of October.
So we are definitely having the parade, we're doing the trunk or treat. What we're thinking about not doing is the trick or treating along Main Street prior to the parade, so that you can do, because the trunk or treat is gonna give you all the candy you want. So we're looking for the businesses to sponsor in the lot rather than at the stores. This way we'll get the kids, those kids that want to have the parade, be part of trunk or treat, and still wanna get out for trick or treating, they can do it all. There is going to be the party at Sacred Heart, the annual Halloween party there. That'll be the week before. There is, does Highland Falls do one as well? Fire department? Steve, no? Okay, but this is what we're doing now, this is why we're doing it early. Fort Montgomery is doing one, they're doing on the 2nd. If there are any other events going on for Halloween, please contact Mrs. Manning. She is coordinating it all, and when I say coordinating, not gonna take over your event, not gonna do anything. She is just gonna add your event to the Halloween festivities, so that there's a date and a time and a place, and this group is doing it. And that way, we're all pooled together, advertising and the whole nine. And the same thing, we talked to the Fort Montgomery Fire Department earlier, with things going on at Sacred Heart, that there may be extra stuff. And you don't wanna hold on to that for a year. We'll bring it down to Fort Montgomery, maybe we'll use it up there, that'd be great. It's all of us working together, collaborating, and getting better events out for the kids. And I want to thank Mrs. Manning for stepping up and taking this over. Again, we're going to be doing it for the holiday, the winter holiday as well. Vision always takes a big chunk of it. We want to coordinate all events with Vision, and so we are looking for someone to step up and be in charge of that as well.
The Girl Scouts have the holiday stuff too.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Art walk.
Well, we'll hear about this.
Art walk is underway. I have it on discussion because again, I want to, it has not to be a formal request, but I wanted to update the board of where we are and what could be going on if the board's in favor of it. Dr. Shea at the Eisenhower Leadership Group has been pushing the art walk for over a year now. She wants to bring more culture to the community in several ways. For those that haven't been in the Eisenhower Leadership Building, it is open daily. They have some phenomenal pieces already in there. It really is beautiful. You have to take a walk in and look at it. What they're proposing is sculptures on the road. The goal, her original goal was Bear Mountain, right to Eisenhower, the Eisenhower Building on West Point, but because of state and federal issues, she's going to target the village first and go from there depending on what's able to be put on West Point, what they allow, and what they allow on the state land. So today, actually, we went out I went out with Dr. Shea and another committee member, and we walked Main Street and picked about 15 different locations of possible sculptures. And again, realizing they're not just gonna drop sculptures all over the place. They'll be checking with us per each one, making sure everything's right, and it's not too, like there was a spot they picked that was on the corner across from Shades, where the turnaround is in the medium. And I pointed out that's gotta be something either very thin or short, because you have cars making the turn, you can't, so that's something, they're not just gonna start dumping massive statues all over the place. But I did give them a letter today that I was in favor of having this project here, to get, it's similar to what we just did with the RFQ, to get the ball rolling. So the artists know that we are in favor of that, and I wanted to bring that to the board, that, again, we're not paying for any sculptures. These are sculptures that will be donated, put in certain areas along Main Street, hopefully to bring our area up, which is what I'm looking for. And the artists will deal with the cost of bringing it here, taking it away,
And
ensuring the actual piece. But we said, as I talked today, we ensure, if someone breaks the piece, that's on them. But we insure the area around the piece because it's still our property.
I'll have to check with Kevin to see, make sure he's okay with locations.
Right.
As far as,
So just temporary pieces?
It's not, what they're gonna be doing is they're actually gonna be switching them out. Not weekly, maybe every 3 months, depending on the piece, depending on the artist. One may stay for 1 month, one may stay for 3 months, and again, it also may depend on the weather. Some may not want them through the winter, some may not, particularly what we do with the mediums, which is a decent area which they're looking at, with the snow and everything else, they may take it away during the winter months. And they wanna rotate pieces, they don't want the same piece here forever. They wanna invite as many different artists as possible. And this could grow into other things. They were actually talking about, is there some way we can put 1 or 2 in the library? We'll talk to Mrs. Braun. And then is there some other businesses that may wanna sponsor in their business? And it would become an art walk, and there would be a map of all the different pieces. And then you would actually encourage people to possibly go into business, because I wanted to see the 10th piece. I only saw 9 of them, this one's in the business, I'm gonna go in. These are possibilities that she's looking into now, on her own with a couple other people. They made a presentation to the Business Improvement Committee this past week at the meeting. Got a lot of great support for it. Again, it's gonna encourage people, 2 or 3 of the pieces are gonna be put on the medium, right between the visitor center and the north end, to hopefully continue to bring them over. Maybe, depending on the room, again, the size, the area of the walk, possibly 1 or 2 on the sidewalk, depending on the larger sidewalk areas, maybe. And again, each one will be approved by us as they come in. It wouldn't be, you guys have carte blanche, do whatever you want. They picked out some sites, as the sculptors come in, they'll ask, is it okay if this one goes here? Is it okay if this one goes here? We'll know it, we'll approve it through our people, and it'll be done. But what they want is to know, are they welcome? So I wanted to get a feel from the board, are they welcome to come into the community and do this? Charlie?
overall, I think it's a fantastic idea. Art along the Hudson has been bandied about as a battle cry. Other communities have created art walks that have really stimulated economic development. So it could be very beneficial.
Excellent. Mr. Brown? Excellent.
Newton has a program every second Saturday. I think they had both the galley sale later and restaurants thrive from that. Reduce the traffic from Main Street over there is incredible. It was something that started, something as simple as that, so. I think it's a great idea.
Excellent. Yes?
I mean, if it gets started and everything, maybe possibly, I don't know if the high school has a big art program, maybe they could create a sculpture to add to it, so it's community-based also.
Oh,
She actually brought that up,
She was talking about doing
which is
that
awesome
as
that you
well.
say that.
We discussed that at the last meeting.
Yeah.
To contact the art department.
Yeah.
And along with that,
Okay.
she's, bringing these artists in, possibly sponsors, generating money for the actual arts program. We're also, I've talked to Pat Kelly at the school, because we're constantly looking for somewhere to put the Highlands Historical Society. No one, with the exception of Stella Bailey, knows what's here. She has treasures from this community, and we're turning things away because we have no place to put larger pieces. There is history and art that is being thrown away because people are clearing their houses out, whether they've passed or moved on to another area. And we just talked about a massive radio collection that we could have been a center of a radio museum with this gentleman's collection alone. But we're not providing the space. So that's something we're actively doing. That's something Nicole also wants to be, Dr. Shea also wants to be involved in, is getting the local art, our local history out to the community, and again, creating a destination. Just like the West Point Museum, once you create it, people will want to come and see it. They can advertise for us, we can advertise for them. They go to the West Point Museum, then they come to the Highlands Historical Society, Highlands Historical Museum. You know, these things are things that we are sitting on, and we need to get out to the community, because we don't know what's in our historical society. The majority of this community does not know what's up here, and I encourage you, if you have time, your children, anyone, make some time, call Stella Bailey, because she's got a lot of treasures to share. Okay, thank you. The procurement policy, and if we can get the treasurer's report as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. I apologize for keeping you.
Good evening, Mayor, Board, Trustees. First, let me, I just want to hand out a couple quick things so you guys can refer to. Because I'm going to refer to this with just a couple of things. Let me grab one more paper. This is the procurement policy with some of my changes, and also some reference material for a local law that I recommend the board consider. I looked and I can't seem to find any information related to it, so I'm not completely stating that their local law wasn't passed a while ago, like 20 years ago, but I don't think it exists, relating to best value procurement. But I'll speak to that right after the treasurer's report. Okay, first thing on the treasurer's report is the revenue expense control report has been published. I gave the board a trustee copy and the mayor copy. I do want to highlight a couple things that I think are very pertinent to right now. We're 1 quarter into the fiscal year, and I've been monitoring our expenditures and so on, and not really through the fault of anything currently going on. With the settlement of the police contract and the back wages related to that, there was some money in previous years put aside, but it's less than 25% of the total. Just to give you a rundown of what was paid out, for the full-time police department, $74,000 was paid for back wages for 3 years. For part-time, it was $20,000, and for the dispatcher of Central Communications, it was $19,000, which gives you a total of $113,000 in back wages paid out. Okay, now, obviously, the board couldn't foresee budgeting for all that. You really didn't have the ability to budget for all that. But what I'm trying to say here is we have to hold a lot of austerity as far as salaries, overtime, and so on for the rest of the fiscal year. Otherwise, what you'll find is you'll end up borrowing money to pay for a lot of these back wages and so on at the end of the year or sometime during a year if our payroll starts to exceed our budgeted amount. Okay, so I'm just alerting the board ahead of time right now that it's great that the contract's settled, it's good that there's an agreement, but that amount was not saved up over all these years to get you at zero. So that has to be taken into consideration. The other thing is it's all in the A fund, so your contingency really doesn't have that much built in. Like in your F and G fund, you have some sizable contingencies in there. In your A fund, it's about half that. And some of that's already been tapped into because of the insurance quote that we received and the increase in the insurance rates for the reasons that were discussed previously. So I think it's important to understand that and what we need to do going forward as far as allowances for overtime and for general expenditures. On the revenue expense control report, I'd just like you to refer to 3 line items. I'm not going to put the names out because I really don't want to indict anybody on this. I just want the board to see these line items in the report and then decide for yourselves as to whether it's something that needs attention or not. The first one is on the revenue side. It's in the A fund 1740, so 40.1740. That area is woefully behind in revenue. I do know that there were some things being discussed related to that, but right now the budgeted amount to what's been gained so far in the first quarter is telling me that that's going to fall below the budget, unless things change as far as how that is gained. Okay. The next line item is in the A fund also. That's 3120.0120. That is related to compensation. In the budget, we talked about budgeting a certain amount for overtime expense. That is, I believe, almost 3/4 of the way through, and we're 1/4 of the way in the year. So that will bypass its budgeted amount probably, if things don't change, before the halfway point of this year. The last one is in the water fund, 8330.0120. That has exceeded its budgeted amount for the year. I know that the board has addressed that one to some degree. I just want you to see the dollar figures as far as where we're at with that expense. So again, this is just an effort we're in the first quarter, to alert the board that these are things we have to be focused on, because it's the time, 2 months before the end of the year is not the time to be going over this. It's now where we have a chance to do something about it based on your decisions and how you want to proceed. Okay? So that I feel, if you have any questions about that or you want any further, please let me know. I'll be glad to go over anything more detailed. But I just want to give you a heads up on that. Second, the AED prep is in progress. It continues. I expect to have that completed by the end of the month. The nature of a lot of what we do with FEMA and everything else creates a lot of extra things to look at. But ultimately, we should be in good shape by the time we get it done at the end of the month. Water fund discussion. I did give a lot of documentation to the board about the water fund. We do need to make a decision on that in relatively short time because billing's coming up. And I would recommend that any decision get made in the off cycle, meaning that it gets done when you're not in the budget process, so that you're not looking at a double hit where you have a tax bill going out as well as an increased water rate. I've been saying all along that I think water rates need to go up. In a comparison with a lot of other communities, we're at the low end as far as our rates. And I think that we're borrowing money from the sewer fund every year to maintain payroll. We pay it back, but it's always deficit spending. And that kind of points to the fact that, well, one of the problems is the calendar makes it difficult because we collect after the beginning of the fiscal year when a lot of the end of the fiscal year costs end up having to be paid out of borrowed money, and then we pay back the sewer fund within a month or so after getting the receipts from the June billing. But I do think that with that aside, the rates do need to will be looked at very tightly and closely, and I recommend an executive session that we talk about the specific rate structures that the board would have in mind, if the board is still on the same page as far as wanting to update our rates, okay? Procurement policy review, I'm gonna get to that in 1 second. I did wanna add one other thing. In the bills and claims, I think the board noticed the Bog Meadow tax bill of $33,000. I've been saying this for a long time. I truly think that we really need to get support from the school board. I think it's, especially with the school looking to get municipal water, it's a little bit of a, I think it's a problem to be paying taxes on a municipal water source. And I quite frankly think that just like the town and the county waive the taxes for that property, I think the school district in kind should also. I realize there's a lot of pressure in the school district with funding and so on, but there are certain things that I think on principle need to happen, and I think most communities, reservoirs and things like that are not taxed, and I don't think the one here should be either. So I just want to remind the board that that's a big chunk of money that really, I think should not be, I think some type of agreement with the school should be obtained for that. Now, going to procurement policy, any questions about the general items that I just discussed? No? Okay, going into the procurement policy, as I spoke a while back, last year when we had our auditors here, one of the deliverables is copy of the procurement policy, which is required by general municipal law. When I pulled out the procurement policy, it was dated 1992. That's 22 years ago. It needs to be updated, and I think it's not a really big deal to update it. We just have to do it. What I did is I took the current policy, I asked for the purchasing agent that we have here to put any inputs that she had on this policy. She forwarded me the text of it, and then what I did is I applied some of the changes to the law to this policy and gave recommendations of some of the changes, which is in the handwritten copy that I just handed the board. I'll just to hit a couple highlights. The minimum is not 10,000 anymore, it's 20,000. Okay, so that I think is a no-brainer to change. I believe, if I recollect, and maybe Gina can enlighten me, I believe we changed our minimum quote number to 500, if I recall. I know we took board action a while back on this. I think I know we took action. I just don't recall if it was 500 or 750. So it was
I'm pretty positive it was 5.
Okay, all right, and that's what I put here as a change. So as far as the contract, purchase contract and public work contracts, I would recommend you go to 500. That's what the guidance is from the Office of State Comptroller as far as the number. And obviously the board made that determination a while back. I would also recommend that you go to 3 quotes, request 3 quotes if at all possible. A lot of times 3 quotes takes away any noise where there might be some copycat bidding. A third bidder tends to get rid of that. There are some word usages in here that I recommend we change. In item 5, there says offerer. I'm really not sure if that's even a word. So I recommend we change that to vendor. And in 6, we have a couple changes there. I did put best value next to there, and I'll get to that in 1 second. That's going to require a local law. Okay, on page 3, I wanted to add a number 7 that talks about accounting principles and procedures appendix. The Office of State Comptroller puts out a very good blurb on purchasing and claims processing. I'd recommend that we take the purchasing section of that and add it as an appendix to your policy so that if there's any question, you can refer to them a little bit more detail on what's going on with the policy. And then this largely is impacting your department heads because they're making a lot of your purchasing decisions. So this would be a ready reference for department heads who aren't necessarily sure about something. They can go right to that. If they need further information, then there's even more specific documentation available, but those kind of occupy volumes of book space, so I don't, or online space, so I would recommend you go to like the Cliff Notes version, and then if they still have questions, they have other resources to get information. This is a big deal, procurement and purchasing, especially now with a lot of the governments focused on austerity because of the tax cap and the ability to pay for things. You're gonna have to get it cheaper, faster, and better. And this is a good tool to try to maintain that. And then in item number 8, I would put the language in that this amended policy goes into effect on October 7th, 2014, and will be reviewed annually. October 7th, I believe, is a Tuesday after the next board meeting. So if there are any questions or changes to what the board has here, I'll take those and we'll implement them into the document, have the document for you to ratify at the board meeting in October. And this way, when the auditors come in November, they can get an updated procurement policy.
Number 2, fourth line, we say over to 20,000 and over 35,000. I think that the sense of a sentence should be under.
It should be, yes, that's correct.
So that should be 2 unders instead of 2 overs.
So going back to best value, we're gonna refer now to the one page that I gave you that says purchasing claims processing. Okay, on there, if we go to the area that I blocked off, it says political subdivisions also generally may elect to award purchase contracts on the basis of best value, rather than the lowest responsible bidder. Best value is defined for this purpose as a basis for awarding contract. Well, you know what?
There's the
There
offer.
is the word.
They use
I didn't even catch it the first
We
time I
actually
looked
used
at it.
OR and Rs, so that wasn't.
Yeah, no, but it's still kind of an option. But I recommend you use vendor or unless you want to do something different. To the offerer who optimizes quality, cost, and efficiency among responsive and responsible offerers. The basis for the best value award must reflect, whenever possible, objective and quantifiable analysis. Political subdivisions must affirmatively opt in to use the best value awards. So like I said, I'm not sure the opt-in was ever done. I can't really find anything that tells me it was. It can't hurt to just do updated legislation to say that the board would be going into best value via a local law that opts in. Okay, so this would, in the case of towns, villages, cities, and counties, the use of best value for awarding a purchase contract or purchase contracts must be first authorized by local law.
We actually, Gina, we actually did do that.
We did the best value local law,
How long ago?
either last year or the year before.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I couldn't, do you have a copy? Because I couldn't find it. So as long as it meets the criteria that's in this area, then you'll be covered. But then we have to specify it in our
Right.
procurement policy, because the procurement policy really doesn't specifically refer to best value. Okay, so we'll verify that, and if in fact it is current, then putting it into the purchasing policy will be added as a line item.